Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pipeline Podcast, episode 139. I am here with the one, the only, the fabulous, the amazing Batman Ultra 7 back again. How's it going, buddy?
Thank you for having me on again. Not gonna lie, I was just headbanging to that music intro while I wasn't on. I was getting a little too distracted there.
Just starts and you're like, oh shit, all right, we're back. Well, welcome back. Obviously, this is your trilogy appearance, if you will.
Yes.
We've talked the Nolan Batman trilogy. We've talked favorite MCU moments. And returning for a little bit more of an MCU discussion, we are here with what I think might be, if not your favorite, one of your favorite MCU movies, right?
It's definitely like really ever since it came out, it's been like top 3. I'd say like the top was like pretty recent. Wakanda Forever, but like Iron Man 3 has always, never moved out of that core core selection. Yeah, I love this movie.
No, absolutely. Like again, like we talked I think it was last June, and like ever since then I was like, back then I was kind of wanting to do this little series. I've been wanting to do this retrospective, and you had talked about how much you loved Iron Man 3, and I was like, I hadn't heard that much previously. Like I feel like Iron Man 3 doesn't have a lot of people in its corner. I feel like that's
there's not a lot of Iron Man shooters because like, you have like Iron Man 1, it's good. Yeah. But like nobody's like looking at it like it's remarkable, because it's just the beginning, and then like Iron Man 2 is just like, it's there.
Yeah.
For most people, I think it's a pretty fun movie.
Sure.
I mean, Justin Hammer's funny. And then Iron Man 3, a lot of people get mad at the Mandarin stuff. And I mean, that's generally the only thing that they talk about.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to hop into that later, because like one of the movies that kind of inspired this whole like mini series I'm doing here, because I had not much memory of this movie. Like I remembered the Mandarin stuff. I remembered his like plays getting blown up. And I was like, but what happened? Like what actually happened in that movie? Why do people seem to either hate it or so bored by it so much? And I was really excited to revisit this one and break it down with someone who does really appreciate it. So that's going to be really, really fun later. We're going to be just hopping right in because we got some fun things to talk about. But I want to jump into Creator Spotlight, a newer segment that I've done since you've been on last. A chance to just kind of see where your corner of the internet resides in, what you've been working on, what you've been doing. I mean, you obviously upload on TikTok and Twitter and TikTok and YouTube and
a little bit everywhere.
Like yeah. So where do you kind of get your start on the internet web, if you will?
What I'll say is, what I got my start on was actually the first ever video I uploaded to YouTube, which does not exist anymore for reasons. It was a reaction video to the Arrow season 6 sizzle reel, which is obviously very different from what I do now. But you have to get your start somewhere, and it's just like, I love these shows, so and people do reaction videos, so why not? And then eventually, as I saw video essays like popping up on YouTube, because like, Arrow season 6 was like 2016, something like that. No, it was the Arrow season 5 sizzle reel. That's what it was. It was like around 2016 or whatever. So like the bulk of the video essays, at least in like the comic book community, hadn't really popped up yet, because like the big nexus point of that was like, you know, High Top Films,
Right.
Brown Table, that whole little corner. But that was a big part of it. Also just like I grew up making little music videos on Windows Movie Maker of like again, I would do a lot of Arrowverse little, you know, AMVs or whatever. Just random stuff like that. And then eventually, you know, I just kept doing it until I actually formed into something that actually made sense.
Sure. I feel like I don't know if I've ever had someone on here that's talked about like the video essay side of the internet, because I do feel like that's very different than the typical like reaction channel or you know, your commentary channel. There's a lot of work that goes into the video essay. I
do think it's interesting that like you like mentioning commentary, because commentaries and video essays, you know, there's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah.
Like Gabby Bell, for example, is someone I watch a lot. And you know, she's kind of in between there, but like there's a lot of videos she does, like especially recently, that are like super high quality, you know, super well written, you know, or like Drew Gooden, same thing. Commentary. Nakey Jakey just did like a 2-hour, you know, Counter-Strike video essay, basically. Extremely serious too. I just think it's cool how like those different categories cross over.
Yeah, like I feel like everyone kind of strives to be those kind of channels, right? Like I feel like everyone kind of wants to be, I guess, taken seriously. They want to get their point across in so many various ways. And like I feel like nobody really knows how to get there. Like no one knows how to like, okay, how do I start? How do I get into that world? How do I put those words into the prompt and into the script and like write it down and do all that various stuff? And I think they can turn out very badly, like they can turn out just very cheaply and stuff like that. But also I think if you do it correctly, you can make something really special. And I feel like you have done a very good job. I loved your Wakanda Forever video, and like that's a video that felt like there was so much heart and so much passion. I was like, oh my gosh, like he said on here last year that he was gonna do it, and he finally did. And I was like, this is awesome. This is amazing.
It was almost a myth at that point. But it was like it was something I had wanted to do for a while. I'm a huge Ryan Coogler fan. I just saw Sinners last night. I came out shaking, pumping my fist in the air. But you know, it's just like, I think some people have like read my scripts, have described like the way I write as like articulating a feeling, like kind of convincing people like of why I like this thing, which I think is the best way to describe what I do. Because like there are academic elements to some of what I do. But I'm also not like I'm not doing like what like Answers in Progress does. If you're familiar, you know, they're very science focused, you know, very like almost like data analysis focused sometimes. And I do want to delve more into that, but I think the like kind of the tangible emotional reaction to art is also a pretty valuable thing. And approaching that through like an essayist lens, I think is valuable. Especially, you know, when backed up by you know, textual evidence and stuff like that. That I was raised by an English teacher, so
that's incredible. That's amazing.
I
I feel like we I feel like we move on from media so quickly nowadays. It feels like there's always
too
this kind
quickly.
of this cycle where it's like, oh, a movie comes out and it's like, okay, that's awesome, and by next week it's like, well, it's done. It's like, wait, that fantastic piece of art that they spent 2, 3, 4 years developing and writing and producing and filming and acting in is just like gone. Next thing,
I
and maybe
think
that's
I,
the whole Marvel thing or
I
whatever, and
think
how
that
we have.
the I think that's something that is hurting Marvel. It's not. I don't see Marvel as this like monster that is like murdering the film industry, because it's really not that simple.
Right.
There's a collection of factors, and also like there are Marvel movies that are, you know, very, very emotional pieces of art.
Yeah.
And I'd say the movie we're talking about today is an example of that.
Sure.
But it's just like, I think as a culture, we are scared of having art that sits with us,
Mm-hmm.
that has a lasting impact on us,
Yeah.
because that's kind of uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like, like the end of Wakanda Forever, something like that, you know, um, you have like a mid-credit scene or whatever, but it's one of the quietest scenes you've ever seen, and it's literally just about the grieving process, about moving forward, and family. And that's like the stuff that'll stick with you. Or like what I was talking with Sinners, when
Yeah.
I got done with that movie, I was shaking, I was like freaking out, because this movie had like an impact on me.
Sure.
um and I think that's like invaluable. And I think we get to a dangerous place when it needs to be quick, which is like, I guess that's part of the impact of streaming,
Mm.
is that if we're watching something in our house, we can pause it,
Yeah.
or we can fast forward over something that might make us uncomfortable.
Right. It's no,
So yeah.
like I 100% agree with you. Like there's so many various things about it, and like I would agree. I do think it probably started with Marvel at one point in time, where like they had a post credit scene. So like before the movie's even over, you're wondering, hey, what's next? What is this building to? What are we
Yeah.
going towards? Um, but you're right. Like I feel like we don't like fully appreciate the longevity of arts in the long term
Yeah.
way. I agree with you. I think some people are afraid to feel things. Like I think we just had Thunderbolts, and like I thought that movie was such an
Mhm.
emotional like roller coaster, and I feel like a lot of people are afraid to admit like, hey, you might relate to some of the themes of a movie like
Yeah.
this. Hey, you
You
might
you
do.
you might have some shame rooms. Um
Sure. And like even like in this comic book space, there's a lot of like, why is there politics in my blah blah blah? And it's like, yes, but you sometimes you have to address these things. These are
I
real
I
world, real things
I
that you have
actually
to address.
I have a video about that. I'm working on a video about that
Oh,
exact subject.
we did it again,
Um,
folks. Put it on your calendars.
um, yeah. I think I think there's a almost dystopian absurdity to thinking that we shouldn't have art that connects with reality.
Hmm,
Because it's not just escapism. Like escapism is great. Um, but art should leave us with something that we can use. Um,
yeah.
like like with Thunderbolts or whatever. Talking about mental health, and talking about how we can deal um it's giving us tools of how to deal with the things in our lives,
Sure.
even if people might not want to sit with that. Um, but I think that's an important thing about art, giving us
Yeah.
tools to navigate
Hmm.
navigate our feelings,
Yeah.
navigate political situations, navigate our relationships with other people, uh, navigate our mental well-being. I think those are all very relevant things of, no relevant things of now, and also just relevant things of like art. Like, I don't think art can be passive. At least it shouldn't be. You know, like there's value to like forgetting for a while, but also you shouldn't. The experience shouldn't be so forgettable that like you just blacked out in a theater and then you just wake up and it's like 2 hours and a half just never happened.
Yeah, I know. Like I think we're not there, but like sometimes I do look at certain movies and I'm like, I hope this isn't the future. Like I hate hating on it so much because I know I have friends who really loved it, but like Minecraft was a weird one for me because it's like I'm totally okay with movies like that coming out and people having fun and being very mindless, whatever. But like when it is about to approach $1 billion at the box office and people are saying like, oh, that's what we can do. We can just make more of those and it will bring us more money. Like that's the path that can be very concerning sometimes.
Meme movies.
Yes, just like mindless. Don't think about things. Just go in. It's going to be an interesting couple years because we might talk about this later too once we get into like the Iron Man 3 of it all. But like AI is becoming a lot more palpable every single day. It's like, oh man, like what is all this coming to?
It's also important to consider that like something like Minecraft. For the record, I haven't seen Minecraft. So like I have no leg to stand on here, but I think the potential is the like the end game effect. And this is not like not any hate to the movie or whatever. Right. I could say end game effect, No Way Home effect, whatever.
Right.
Is like films that can't be consumed at home.
Sure.
Like Minecraft, for example. That's a specific kind of community experience.
Right.
There will not likely be a lot of enjoyment of watching that like on DVD or on streaming, unless you get a bunch of teenagers together in a living room and watch it.
Right.
Like it doesn't have the same like staying power as like I don't want to get in the way of like saying this is a real film and this is like not a real film.
Right.
It's a different kind of experience, and potentially just a completely different thing.
Yeah, like I do wonder with a movie like Minecraft in like 30 years, or even like in like a hypothetical like 100 years when the Earth is gone and like aliens beam down. It's like, what are they going to be able to take away from a movie like a Minecraft or something like that?
Yeah, what will be left of our civilization?
Exactly.
It's like I remember like years ago, the BBC transmitted the first episode of Doctor Who into space, which they still haven't made an episode about what happened with that, but I think it would be hilarious if they did an episode about that. But like they did that back then, and that's a good thing to transmit into space. But sure. Like what would we transmit into space as like a representation of our culture in like 50 years?
Sure.
Would we be proud?
That's the whole thing where it's like, what one piece of art or one piece of media would you want to represent all of us? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I could justifiably feel confident enough of seeing enough media to be like, this is the one. They have to see this one. This Plus, is what like, humanity's all about.
The answers would be different. For between like us and say, certain people.
Sure.
Yeah.
even like your grandparents, like what
Yeah,
do
it's
they
true.
perceive as the golden standard? Like the first thing that like came to mind was almost like, you know what, like Everything Everywhere All at Once is like a good, like this is the like the human experience kind of thing. But
Yeah.
it's also like that movie has like fighting dildos and stuff. Like is
Yeah,
is that what I
I
want to bring? I don't know. Like that wouldn't be what my grandma
yeah, I
would,
could not.
so
There's certain people I couldn't show that movie to.
100%. Yeah.
But it is like, like in that case, like that's a good representation of this place and time.
Sure.
Maybe it's not a good representation. It would be very difficult to represent all of humanity. Which is kind of what we're trying to do when we have these movies that are like almost like movies by committee. We're trying to like make statistically monetary movies.
Right.
Which is like, like where do you draw the line?
Right.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. No, that's incredible. You also, and we can cut this out in post if this isn't something you want on here, but you also make comics, right? Is that something that you still do?
Yes. So we did the fundraiser for Prodigy Comics #1 earlier this year.
Amazing.
And we got $3,500. It was great.
Whoa.
The goal was 3,000. So like, yeah, we're happy about it. And let's see, where is it? Give me 1 sec.
Of course. Let me read some comments while we are waiting. LBM in the chat. Hello, how's it going? Hello, Flash Freak, how's it going? Hello, Lance, how's it going? Hello, Stranger, how's it going? Congrats on your John Deagle tweet, Darren. Thank you. That's been a weird 24 hours with that one. It's cool to see so many people traumatized. Stranger says, fun fact, when I was a kid and I watched Iron Man 3 in theaters, it scared me so bad I didn't go back to the theaters for years. I wonder what part scared you. Was it the building blowing up? Was it like the mansion? I could see that being scary for like a kid. Or just like the people catching on fire too, I guess. LBM says, I think Iron Man 3 is a solid 4 out of 5 movie. That's fair. I always have trouble translating like 5 out of 5 star ratings, I guess. But yeah, no, it is very interesting seeing the whole, and I'll trim this when I get to the clipping part of the segment, but it is very interesting seeing all the people discovering that whole storyline for the first time. People being like, wait, is that Green Lantern? Is that what we're doing here? Is what happened with that entire arc? Where did that lead? What are we doing? I think I'm going to actually do a segment on that for after the credits on Monday, because I think looking back at that era of storyline, it's going to be very interesting. Stranger says it was part where they turned Pepper into a. That's fair. I could imagine, like, as a child, like retrospectively, that being very scary. I one of these days I'll have to get into like retrospectively what things I found scary as a kid, and they are embarrassing things. So That would be interesting for sure. Marcus said Avengers Doomsday got delayed. Yes, that is on the docket here today. We are going to be talking about that here in just a little bit. That has implications. I'm very excited to kind of go over and talk about. I think that's going to be very interesting. Okay, welcome back.
Okay, sorry. It took me a second.
Hell yeah. Let's fucking go. That is incredible. That is so cool. Holy shit. That is so awesome. You muted, my friend? Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen.
Is it all good?
Okay, we're back.
Yeah, I'm not. I was gonna say I'm not sure if you're familiar with Steve Orlando, but I got his autograph. I mean, he did a pull quote for the back of the book. He's worked for Marvel and DC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is such an achievement in itself. Yes. Like creating anything is something that many people can't say that they've done.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have an idea. It's one thing to have a passion, but to bring that passion out and be like, hey, I made this thing. Here it is. That is incredible. That is amazing. Congratulations.
3 years.
3 years. And is there a place that people can support this project? Is there somewhere that people can go to do anything like that?
We do have 2 social medias to like kind of just track, where we're going, when we're releasing new issues. We are on Twitter and we are on Instagram. On Instagram, it's Prodigy Comics 52, and on Twitter, it's just Prodigy Uni.
Incredible, man! Incredible. That is such a huge achievement, and I'm so happy to hear that.
100%. Thank you. It's been a wild experience.
I bet. That is incredible, man. Absolutely. But we're gonna be hopping into today's episode. We have a couple news stories here, 2 that are kind of smaller scale, and then one that had come out today, which is really very interesting. Let's start with a Paramount story, if we will. The Legend of Aang and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sequel have both been delayed, one to 2026 and the other later into 2026 and the other to 2027. Yeah. Are either of these projects ones that you are really excited for, that you really want to see?
I love both. I love both franchises very well. I've been a fan of both since I was a kid. Though I will say, sometimes delays can be a bad thing, but I think generally, delays can mean a better, better end product.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the case here, but I certainly hope so, because delays can give more time to polish. But yeah, I'm really excited for both, because I really love Mutant Mayhem. And there just hasn't been like anything from Avatar in a long time.
Both are very interesting. I think Ninja Turtles I'm like less upset about, I guess, just because like I like Ninja Turtles, but I'm not like a super fan. Like I loved that first movie. I thought it was really good. I know they had that TV show that came out last year based on the movie. I still have not checked that out. I know there's like a second season of that
not
coming.
Advertised at all.
It just came out like on Twitter like that day. I'm like, so how is everyone feeling? And like everyone's like, wait, this is a thing? There's like 12 people that are like, I had no idea this even existed until now. And it's like, come on, Paramount, get yourself together. Zero. I hope they can fix that. I am curious about the cast as well, though, because they are like the whole like advertisement for the movies that these are children and that they can grow up with this IP. And I do wonder if by the time this is out, they're going to be like 17, 18, 19 kind of thing. So
I guess the good thing is that, you know, they're turtles, so it's not like
fair.
you know, like if they were like the Stranger Things kids, it would be a lot more noticeable.
Sure. Animation helps,
which it will be, which it will be.
100%, yeah. And like with it being animation, and like this is a conversation we don't like having, but like you could also recast if need be, if you do want them to sound a bit more youthful for a couple more movies or something. I'm never like, yes, recast these children or whatever, but like that is on the table if need be.
Well, also, like on the flip side, you know, it's animation, so
sure,
like it's voice acting, so they can, you know, adults play kids all the time.
Sure, absolutely. And then yeah, like with this Aang project, like I've been watching this very closely since they announced Avatar Studios back in like 2021, 2020. It's been a while. It's been interesting because it started off as like a bunch of these movies. You had like a Korra movie and, you know, all these prequels and like a Zuko movie, and then it changed to, well, just now an Aang trilogy for now. And we have the new show that's coming out with the Earth Kingdom, which I'm excited for that. And then you also have the like Netflix adaptation, which I'll say now that Avatar Studios is getting started, I don't know if I care about the live action one anymore. I'm just like, give me the animated one back. I
thought it was ill advised to do a live action show. Especially since a lot of the casting was not great. You know, considering, you know, certain characters look certain ways, and not casting a blind actress for Toph was a choice. But yeah, I didn't really care because like I just can never get behind doing live action versions of animated.
Sure.
Because it just feels like you don't like animation. Because like it's like it's not legitimate enough kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, it just like it rubs me the wrong way.
That's valid. Like I think I'd be more into it if there was less of them. But it's like there are so many every single year. Like I've liked some of the Disney ones that they've done, but it's when you're doing like 2 or 3 a year, it's like, all right, guys, like what are we doing here? Like let's relax on it a little bit.
I think the only version of it I'm okay with is like the Maleficent brand of
Those are my favorite. Yeah,
because it's not a remake. It's just
an adaptation.
It's like from a different perspective. Or whatever, like it's actually an original story.
Yeah, I will always hate like copy and pasted exactly reboots. I will always dislike when you do that. Like if you're adapting it to me, it has to be fresh. It has to be new. Like, why are you rebooting it for a new audience? What are you adding to that story to make it?
Yeah, I feel like you actively have to prove your existence. When you're adapting, in animated movie.
Sure. Valid. Absolutely. Okay, next story here isn't much of a story, but I do think there's like a conversation to be had with this one. The DCU is getting started in just a couple months here with Superman.
Yes.
James Gunn gives seemingly encouraging updates on the status of Wonder Woman in the DCU. When asked if there was any updates for Wonder Woman, he said, not to be shared publicly, but yes, encouraging. So this is interesting because they keep saying Wonder Woman is the like frontier of this universe. He keeps selling it home, but we haven't heard anything official. We have all these announcements happening, but Wonder Woman is nowhere to be found.
There's two things. There's two things that if he does it will really annoy me.
Okay.
The first is if it's just an announcement about the show, about the Amazons or whatever. because like I love the lore, I love the mythology. It's great,
Sure.
but I don't want it without Wonder Woman because that's like it's it's about as meaningful as the Sony villain movies, which is like not very. And then like the other one would be like adapting the Tom King Wonder Woman. I think is something he might do, which is concerning.
Sure.
But mostly just because James Gunn really loves Tom King, and he's part of the group list of writers for the DCU. But like, just please give me some Wonder Woman.
She's I think
an character.
I'm kind of in a weird spot with the DCU right now because like obviously I'm excited. I'm so hyped. But I think a lot of the production stuff is a little concerning to me when we have like a Clayface movie, a Teen Titans movie, but no Batman, no Wonder Woman movie kind of in production on the way.
I think Wonder Woman just should have been the top of the list, in my opinion. I think I'd be okay with waiting on a Batman movie, in comparison,
Sure,
because Wonder Woman's only had like 2 movies, 0 animated shows, 0. Like, what are we doing? Also, like,
so past
also,
due. Yeah,
we got a Creature Commandos show, but not not a Wonder Woman show. And I'm not like a Creature Commandos hater. Well, I mean, I'm kind of a hater of the show, but I'm not a hater of them as a concept.
Sure.
I like them in the comics. I watched like 2 episodes and I just I couldn't do it. Part of it was believe it or not, the treatment of a Wonder Woman character.
That was a weird usage, and
that
like
not great.
Yeah, I liked Creature Commandos, but I needed it to be better. If that was,
it felt like he was doing Suicide Squad again. A little bit.
Most of my problems with that show would be fixed if it wasn't like the first project in that universe.
Yeah. That's a very valid point. It's just like, I think James Gunn needs to be wary about, he's the overseer of the universe, so he can't be biased towards his own, kind of likings or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he needs to, like be mindful of kind of everything that needs to happen for it to work. And I think Creature Commandos was just kind of him getting out all of his stuff. And like
Creature Commandos was definitely a part of the OG, the like DCEU continuity, and it was probably written, and he's like, hey, the show's already written, you can get it in production now, get it going, which I can understand that, especially with such a long wait in between everything. So from that prospect, I'm like, okay, I can kind of forgive it. But then you also have I love Peacemaker season 1. I don't know if I want it to be getting a season 2. Like, I'm still on the fence about that whole decision personally. But
it is kind of funny. And I'm clearly not a James Gunn hater because like I love the Guardians movies, and I think the Suicide Squad is great. And I'm very excited for Superman. But like I did think it was funny that like who was chosen to carry over.
Definitely his crowd, 100%.
Yeah.
And like inherently, I don't blame him because I would probably want to do the exact same thing if I spent.
I don't blame him either. It's just like I think it's a little too messy.
I agree. Yeah.
To get everybody on board, or at least the greatest amount of people on board. Because either, you bring on everybody and you just try to make it work, or you don't.
Agreed.
um
Our first movie hasn't even come out and it's already kind of a mess. It's already a hodgepodge. Next, you already have people being like, wait, what is canon and what is not? And that should not have been a thing. That is the last thing they needed up until this point, unfortunately.
Also, it's just the thing of Superman needs to land, not as a Superman movie, but as a DC movie.
Yeah.
It needs to have the biggest success. Because the brand is dependent on it doing well. Because I doubt that at least we wouldn't get a lot of movies after if it doesn't go well. Yeah. I won't say it's completely out the door, but it would be sketchy. So there's just a lot riding on it. And there's just a lot going on. And I'm betting on this, I want this to do well.
Yeah. I think it will do well. I think they've been really pushing the marketing. I think it's been, outside of a certain group of people, seemingly very positive on the internet.
That's true.
So it's just very populated right now. There's a lot in July.
I think David's great. I think Rachel's great too. Nicholas Hoult is absolute perfect casting.
Yeah.
I think the look of film is great. And here we are, we were supposed to talk about Wonder Woman. Now we're talking about Superman.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Just to kind of circle back around, and we'll answer some of these comments here quickly. Who's someone who grew up on those CW shows and those early DC shows. Someone even said it here, you have Smallville and you have Gotham and you have all these shows that have characters that they can't even use said characters because of rights and stuff like that. We fully have the rights of all these characters, and now we have a one that's hey, it's Wonder Woman, but it's not Wonder Woman. It's I did that for 15 years. I don't. Yeah. We don't need to do it anymore.
It's and just and also you can say that, but but also as far as we know, this show doesn't have Wonder Woman.
Seemingly, yeah.
Point blank. Gotham and Smallville have Bruce Wayne.
That is true. That is true.
And also Batman has had a billion TV shows. Superman has had plenty TV shows.
Yeah.
Smallville got 10 seasons. Let's see. Wonder Woman has had one.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. I would be more excited for this if we had the movie first. If this was a prequel to the said first movie, then it can be okay, fair enough. It's just an HBO little thing, whatever.
If it was Historia, if they just adapted that, cool. But it doesn't look like that.
And we haven't got updates from it since they announced it, so it could be one of those things just put on the back burner, similarly to their Waller and their Booster Golds and stuff like that.
Not to mention Monolith, the Wonder Woman game.
I'm pretty sure that was technically officially canceled now, unfortunately. Yep. So
I read stories. I read stories from people working on the game. There's this lady who was I think she was she was pregnant and she just lost her job.
Aww.
And it's just awful situation. Also could have been one of the greatest superhero games
Yeah.
ever.
That's such a good character to like do that with too, because she's so
Yeah.
powerful, but like not in like a cosmic way that's hard to manage. Like you can easily like mechanic wise, it makes so much sense for her to have her own game.
Also, like the Nemesis system.
Yeah.
So cool.
Oh man.
So cool.
The combat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No.
Plus, like all of the mythology.
DC in their games makes me want to scream.
Yeah.
It really does, because like a couple months. I don't know if you saw them all, but like
let's do 5 more Batman games.
No, 100%. Like it came out a couple months ago that they were planning on maybe doing a Flash game, but they couldn't because the movie didn't do well and all that kind of stuff. It's like, they said the same like Constantine. They almost did Constantine, but they didn't go that direction because they didn't think it would do well.
Imagine if they did. Imagine if they did like an Alan Wake style Constantine game.
Yeah.
God. I will say this all the live long day. Have you ever played like Shadow of the Tomb Raider?
I haven't. No.
You should. The developer of that game would be the perfect developer for a Green Arrow game. Like I've put thought into like doing a video about this. I've never really done something like that, like a I don't know, a fan game pitch or whatever.
Sure.
But like there are certain like developers that like just go into my brain. I'm like, they should do this.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Let me answer a couple of these questions here very quickly.
Yes.
Serenity, how's it going? Ethan says, I love the whole Iron Man trilogy, yes, including Iron Man 2. Hell yeah.
It's fun. It's fun.
Very fun. Serenity comments on our talk about the series. She said, or they say, sorry, not to assume. Disagree. I want Wonder Woman in the DCU, but it's okay to have Amazon's only project. It's like saying I love X-Men, but not Wolverine. Agreed. I don't think we're saying like they shouldn't get a project ever. I think we're just...
Yeah, I think it's different because we have a lot of Wolverine projects. We don't have a lot of Wonder Woman projects. Like she's not well established enough in the in like pop culture that like she deserves to have a massive presence.
Yeah, and I also think the X-Men are pretty popular on their own despite Wolverine. Like there's a lot of characters there that can hold their own project. Not saying these can't also hold their own project, because I think they can. Yeah. But
it's just like it's a thing of like I want the Amazon's project, but also why can't we have a Wonder Woman project first?
Agreed.
Because like she has a massive amount of stories to tell, but apparently nobody believes that she can do anything, even though she is like one of the oldest DC characters.
Yeah.
And has some of the greatest comics in all of DC.
That's kind of the whole thing with her though, right? Because it's like she is popular, like she's so popular that people are afraid to adapt her like in your casual viewings, but not popular enough to get the push that Batman and Superman do. Yeah. So she's stuck in that limbo spot of very popular, but just no projects to back that popularity up.
She's really frustrating.
It for sure. Stranger says, I have said it and I will continue to say it. He should have just said that everything from Suicide Squad here and now is canon. That's a frustrating thing because they treat it completely as canon, right? They basically say except it's like it's all canon except it's not, and it's like that makes no sense, buddy. It's
well, it's very selfish. Not in like, I'm not trying to say in a negative way, but they're being picky with what is canon and what is not.
Right. For sure. It's interesting, and again, like maybe none of this will matter in 5 years or whatever, but like right now it is.
I assume it won't matter eventually, but
yeah,
it's weird.
For sure. For sure. All right, we're gonna be moving into our final topic here before we move into our main thing. This came out about, I guess, almost 2 hours at this point, and I do think this is a pretty big one. Avengers: Doomsday and Secret Wars is officially delayed till December of their exclusive years.
Yeah.
So this is something I've talked about a little bit. They are just starting filming Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah.
And it comes out, it was supposed to come out about a year from now. I had said various places of like, I'm not saying it would get delayed, but I wouldn't put it out of the question either, because that is a very short turnaround time.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's just it feels like they're giving a better chance of it actually being a good movie. Though I'm gonna preface this with, I still have problems with Doom.
Agreed.
In general.
Agreed.
But I think one really positive thing about this is that Spider-Man will be coming out before it. Which means we don't jump into having Spider-Man in Avengers before him getting to, a new outing,
right?
Like establishing himself beyond the end of No Way Home. So I think that's going to be a positive thing. And also it feels like this is going to be like course correcting a little bit, making sure we have like a logical progression into these what should be big movies.
Yeah.
And like the fact that Phase 5 has been messy when it comes to like overarching plot progression. So this will be a good way to make it make sense.
Sure. Yeah, like I think this does a couple of things, because what's going to be interesting is there will be another year gap in between movies again. So we will have Fantastic Four in July, right? And then we won't have another one until Spider-Man the following year, which that's not a bad thing. I actually think it really helped in 2024 to have a little bit of gap in between movies. I think that made Deadpool feel very special, that there was only one major MCU movie that year. I think that's completely fine.
Also, although what they should have done after the end of Phase 4.
Sure, lessened up a little bit. But, to play the other side of it, like there's been a lot of rumors of like, okay, there's maybe projects they haven't told us about, there's slots they haven't filled in. This would technically give them the opportunity. I know right now, I don't know if you've seen it, there's been a lot of rumors of like a Doctor Strange 3. And I've said they don't have time. I was like, they don't have time for a Doctor Strange 3.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I guess technically they do now. I guess if they wanted to.
Oh no. Feige, slow down.
I would be okay with it though if it allows them for more build up, right? If it allows them to do, if it's like after Doomsday, right? If it's in between Doomsday and Secret Wars, this gives them more time to have it set in that world, right? I
really think the only I think the only thing that should be building this up, as far as I know about this movie, is Fantastic Four centric,
right?
Whatever, right? Like you could do the Fantastic Four movie, and then, I'm just saying this into the ether. I don't know if it would work. But like a Fantastic Four miniseries, whatever. I don't know. That prospect worries me, obviously, because they're not great at making shows. But if you have like, you could have the director of Fantastic Four as well as like Michael Giacchino as like the overheads of like a Fantastic Four miniseries leading into Doomsday. I think that would be cool. That's that would be like my ideal way of leading into it, because like, you know, Doctor Doom should be about the Fantastic Four.
It should, yeah, and I'm curious what the buildup will be, because that's going to
Yeah.
be one of the bigger ones, and I think you can do that there. And you know, we've heard that Pedro is going to be one of the like, leads of this Avengers movie. I think that's very promising. Hopefully, we can do some of that there. But that movie has a lot to do. There's a lot of things you have to set up. There's a lot of things in motion.
A lot writing on it.
I'm more concerned about the like current Avengers roster myself, because it's like I wish we could have seen the build up to Sam's Avengers team. It's going to be more so off screen development. I was like, that's such a cool thing to see. Part of me wishes that was Captain America 4 or implemented within it somewhere. Or like I had even said of like where Thunderbolts left, I was like, that's a cool Captain America setup. Like, I almost wish we could get another Captain America 5, and it's like a Civil War-esque kind of movie. Not full guard, but like the conflict that's left there to me is almost now more interesting than the like Doom stuff itself right now. So it's like, I don't know, maybe even like a presentation or something, just showing Sam like collecting his team or building that together or something. I don't know, like something like that would be kind of fun. But
what happened to the presentations, by the way?
We got Punisher next year. We're getting that Punisher presentation, which is nice, and hopefully that leads into more. But I don't know.
I want another Werewolf by Midnight.
That was so good. That was so good.
Can we just have Michael do like a bunch of presentations?
No, they were so good. I've loved both that we've got. You already mentioned Spider-Man a little bit, but I do also think I'm very curious, because this means Spider-Man will be the next one after Fantastic Four, which I was curious about. This makes me think that this will be more standalone now, which makes me very excited. I was really afraid that Spider-Man 4 was going to be like a like Doom's World weird mashup multiverse thing to set up the movies and blah blah blah. So this makes me happy that similarly, maybe the rumors are true that it is going to be more grounded. It's going to be more intimate. It's going to be Tom's Peter story on the ground level, and it ends with something being like, a setup for Avengers.
I've heard like Tom was like fighting tooth and nail to make sure this Spider-Man movie is, you know, like actually a Spider-Man movie. Also, you know, the director's great. I'm really glad they chose who they did. Because like, you know, he directs great action. He directs really good drama. Like I think the best part of Shang-Chi was, you know, the relationship between him and his father. I thought that was really strong. So I think he's going to bring a certain kind of gravitas to Spider-Man. And I'm really excited for it, surprisingly.
Yeah, and I think they just hired the fight choreographer from Shang-Chi as well, which I'm like...
Which, like, the choreography was incredible.
Incredible. That movie, if you can just get a half of that action with Spider-Man of all characters, like, that's exciting. Yeah. That's very cool.
Also, imagine how the swings are going to look.
I'm so excited. Yeah, like, I think I was more excited for Spider-Man 4 over Doomsday as well. So, like, I'm not upset that, like...
I think we're going to have, like, a good stretch of movies that, like, feel very individual. You know, we have Thunderbolts, which I thought was really good. Fantastic Four looks great. And then you have Spider-Man. I don't know what Avengers is gonna be, but
and like on top of that, like I wasn't a huge fan of Daredevil Born Again for various things, but this season is completely new stuff. It's completely
that is exciting.
Creative team plus the like Punisher special. I don't know what to expect from Vision Quest next year as well, but obviously like I liked Agatha quite a bit, so I'm hoping they can continue that transition that way with a proper showrunner and Ultron's coming back and blah blah blah. Like I do think we're in like a good like rhythm for Marvel, hopefully.
Wonder Man,
which is the director of Shang-Chi.
That's December, I believe.
Yep.
And as we're talking about MCU, guys, don't forget Ironheart is coming out next month.
Watch it.
You know, Marvel doesn't really want you to remember that.
Nope.
But considering we're going to talk about Iron Man 3 later, I thought I'd brought that up.
There's a conversation, like there's a blending with those two things. There's a conversation that goes along with this movie and Ironheart a lot of the time, and I'm excited to get into that a little bit. But you're right. You're like, I need that to be good. I need to prove everybody wrong about
great.
that.
You know, I'm not gonna say too much, but I've already written a video about Ironheart.
Ooh, another tease.
Which I'm hoping to have done in time for their very questionable release. Which is they're releasing the first 3 episodes of 6 episodes all at once.
Yep.
And then they're releasing the rest the next week.
That's the rumor. Yeah.
The 2-week release.
I pray it's at least a 4. I'm praying it's at least a 4. But even then, it's like,
which is like you're just killing it.
Yeah.
You are taking this show out to the back and shooting it.
And it's like you have Ryan Coogler as your producer, who just did Sinners. Yeah. He is the king of the world right now. Everyone wants to be him. Like,
it's clear.
What are you doing?
It's clear that they're right. They are slightly riding the Sinners high, only after they were sure that Sinners was doing well. Which, like, guys, you're stupid. I'm like, I don't mean to be mean, but like, you know, Fruitvale Station, Creed, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
True. Yeah.
All incredible movies. He's one of the most, I'd say he's one of the most renowned American directors of his generation.
Yeah.
I mean, and Sinners has like given him a place, you know, of like independent directors.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like, you know, the Christopher Nolan kind of notoriety.
He's on his way. Like, he is at a spot right now where I think he could basically ask for most projects, and they'd be like, "All right, have it, have fun."
Like he literally has his own production company, Proximity Media, and also he's about to work on an X-Files reboot.
He is,
which is crazy. Like,
and Black Panther 3 is coming, right? So
Black Panther is crazy with Denzel
Washington, yeah. Which, oh my gosh, it's crazy. He's on an incredible journey. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing will probably be something I continuously talk about over these next couple years. It's, you know, like, obviously it's sad. Like, obviously, yes, it would have been nice to have an Avengers movie next year. Of course, like, you know, I love these movies, but also, like, I think this is ultimately for the best. I think this will only make the movie better. Yeah, like, give them 6 extra months for, you know, especially I think they just, like, unionized their, like, special effects department.
Which is great.
So, fantastic. Yes, like they're making all the right moves. So it's like, take as much time as you want, especially if it means that your actors and your entire crew over there is treated well, 100%. Okay, we're gonna be talking about Iron Man 3 here a little bit. No, this was a movie. I'll say, like, for years I kind of threw it off as like, yeah, it's that one. You know, it's the movie I don't think about very much. And like, you know, retrospectively, I was looking at a lot of these Phase 1, Phase 2 movies, and I'm like, I feel like a lot of these people say that I don't like, or they say that they do like, but they don't remember them very well. They're just like kind of banked in the back of their knowledge, and whatever their opinion was back in like 2008 through like 2015 is kind of what that opinion was. So this movie and Iron Man 2 and Thor and like a lot of those original movies were the reasons I wanted to do this retrospective. And like I said at the front, like you said, you loved this movie back last June, and ever since then I was like, you know what? I'll bring him on for this. We'll talk about this movie. We'll break it down. We'll talk about it. I mean, like you said, this is a top 3 MCU movie for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely, all day.
Talk about it a little bit.
Well, just there's so much in this movie. I really love the opening for one. They have this monologue throughout the movie that kind of ties the whole movie together, which is very much a trademark going back to an earlier movie, actually. This is directed by Shane Black, who wrote the Lethal Weapon movies. He did Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, but most importantly, he did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer. And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was the movie he did right before Iron Man. So it's a little bit of a reunion. And something that like Shane Black does a lot is like Christmas action movies. Pretty much all of his movies are Christmas action movies. Lethal Weapon are Christmas action movies. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang Christmas action movie. I don't know if Nice Guys is set during Christmas. But literally the only bad movie he has in his filmography is the one that isn't set at Christmas, which is Predator.
Fair.
But something I always really appreciated about him was contrasting the festive time with a lot of messy feelings. I mean, the first Lethal Weapon has Mel Gibson sitting in a trailer watching Looney Tunes with a gun inside his mouth, contemplating committing suicide. And like he takes those like visceral feelings to a movie like with Iron Man 3, which makes the effects of Avengers very tangible and very visceral. Like the PTSD, I think is really what makes this movie really important to me.
Right.
Is like the mental health element. Because I think they do it really well.
Yeah.
And I think this movie is what sold me on Tony Stark.
Oh, interesting. That's fair. Yeah.
Because like the whole movie is really about like kind of scraping everything off and being like, who is this guy? And like a big theme is like ego, and like how do you, and like what do you do to like protect that? You have like Killian, who is like incredibly insecure about not being smart enough, but not being good enough. I mean, before modern day, he's basically an incel scientist. And then he takes the like total embarrassment that Tony did to him, and takes that to fix his face, and make some killer fire people. And then you have Tony, who's like insecure about losing people. I think that distinction is very important. Because like I think it goes back to like the futurist ideal of like Tony Stark. He's always thinking forward. And nothing's more forward thinking about than like worrying what's going to happen to the people that you love.
Yeah.
Like that conversation between Pepper and Tony, when she comes in, she tries to kiss him on the armor, and then like she goes down to get like a crowbar or whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, you're lame. And basically saying, I get so worried that something bad will happen to you. After the portal, after New York, I can't sleep, so I go down, I tinker. It's like the armor is his way of reclaiming control, which I think is something we can all relate to.
Yeah, I think like that is the highlight for me for sure. Like there's some things in here that don't, like, not everything works for me in here, but like I think the movie at its core is the journey Tony is going on throughout these movies, and I think this might be one of his best individual arcs within like one of these movies, right? Like one of his individual journeys. And I love when these movies can have consequences for their actions. And I feel like sometimes, and I'm afraid they're going to start feeling so isolated onto themselves they won't be able to do this. But like I like that he makes that heroic play at the end of the Avengers, and it's like, so he is the person to like lay down his life if need be, but he comes back and he's such this egotistical character. But it's like, how does someone come back from that? That is something that there is no therapy session, there is no books on how to come back from a black hole. Like that's just not a thing, right? And he is such a man of ideals and public facing, and like he is like the celebrity of celebrities in this world, right? So it's like, how does someone who is faced with all that stuff deal with these consequences, dealing with this trauma? I agree with you. Like, I think that aspect of it is really what carries forward. And I think that first act for me is, I think, probably some of the best this movie gets. Like his journey through that first act and where he ultimately does end up at the end of the movie too. And like that individual journey, I think, is fantastic.
I think like the fact that he codes his armor to his skin. Like he basically like he like at the beginning of the movie, like injects it into like different points in his skin.
Yeah.
So he can bring his armor to him, which also is better than the nano, the nano.
Agreed. Yeah.
Armor. I think that's lame.
I think the like bits throughout this movie when he is just like, he's jumping around and he's waiting for it to all come on top of him. Like that is so sick. I love the sequence when he's like tied up inside the lair and he's just waiting for the hands to come on, and that's so sick. That's so awesome.
Any moment now. Dead.
It's that's fantastic. I've been enjoying the last couple projects not having nanotech with like Daredevil and Thunderbolts and what will be Fantastic Four, I assume.
It was just like it was also it like served a narrative purpose too.
Sure.
Kind of talking about like his insecurities and like he's so scared that something might happen that he has to have it, he has to be able to call his armor to him at any second.
Right.
And like, when he's like in bed with Pepper and he starts having a nightmare.
Yeah.
And the armor comes to him. I think that is one of the scariest scenes I've ever seen in a Marvel movie.
Yeah. Yeah, because what if he wouldn't have woken up, Pepper's dead, right? And it's like there could be a narrative of like your insecurities or your fears are ultimately what takes away what you love most in life. Like there is something to be said there for sure. And I think like, I don't know how you feel about the like Spider-Man trilogy, but like I do think there is a good like transitional period for this movie, Tony's arc in this movie, about like, learning that you need more than those suits, and like you aren't the armor. I think translates very well to Peter's arc, where like he Tony literally has to be like, if you're nothing without that suit, then you shouldn't have it. And it's like, this is probably where he learned that lesson. That's really a cool piece of continuity. And if Tony, this like 40-year-old man, had to learn that, imagine a 16-year-old who who
Mm,
is fresh on power and is just learning about the world and what it means to be a hero. Like I think that's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Tony Stark is easily probably the most consistent character in all of the MCU.
I'd agree with that.
Um uh because I mean obviously he appeared in a lot of projects. You know. But there was just like there's a very consistent journey
Right.
going on. And another thing I really like about this movie is how much time he spends outside of the suit.
Mm,
I think it's so cool.
right.
Because it makes it feel so different from any other superhero movie, and
Sure.
him having to figure out what to do when he doesn't have the armor, when he doesn't have the protection.
Yeah.
And also him being helped by normal people.
Yeah.
You meet this snarky kid Harley. You
Yeah.
meet this weirdo guy who has a tattoo of you on his arm. Just like normal people.
Right.
I think that's another thing that keeps me coming back is it feels like a Marvel movie in the real world in a lot of
Mm,
ways.
sure. Yeah. I feel like I don't know when it happened, but like, there was a shift in how they kind of made these movies within phase 2, going into phase 3 and stuff like that. And I would agree, like, this is a movie that feels real, that feels, segmented, and like, even if this movie isn't one of your favorites, I there is an element of this that feels like genuine filmmaking in that way that I think is
Yeah,
very
like
fascinating to see.
all the action sequences are insane. Like
Yeah.
the barrel of monkeys, the barrel of monkeys.
Oh,
When
that's
when
so
when, when
sick.
all of the
Yeah.
people are falling through the sky, and he has to grab them one by one by one.
So cool.
One of the most creative action sequences in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, and like you said about just like, it being real people in his life and stuff like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
there feels like there's a real focus on just like trying to save every person, just like trying to
Mm-hmm.
save every person that you
Yes.
possibly can, which I feel like has kind of been lost in a lot of the modern superhero flick, and some of that's on
Mm-hmm.
them, some of it's not, right? But yeah, no, like that sequence is fantastic. Like, I don't love everything about that third act, but like I do think a lot of like the focus on just trying to get people out of there, trying to get them to
Yeah.
safety, all that stuff is fantastic. I want to talk about Harley for a minute here. Now, despite never having another major role in the MCU, this man gets brought up so much in the Marvel community. Some of it's
Yeah.
valid. Some of it's, and then, we'll talk about that here in a second. Some of it's not valid, right? Like, there's so many people that
Yeah.
are like, look, when it comes to Ironheart, people are like, oh, it should have been him. He should have been the next guy. I was like, you can like both guys. It's okay. You can like both characters.
All I'm gonna say is, Ironheart. Uh, Ironheart came out in what, like 2014,
Mhm.
something like that. Uh, she's been around.
Right.
She's been around. One thing I take issue with is when people act like Ironheart just like popped out, into existence because Marvel wanted a black Iron Man. That's
Right.
that's not what it is. She's been around for more than a decade. Deal with it.
Yeah. No, like I'm watching this and I'm thinking like, yeah, it would have been cool to see him come back in some
Yeah.
capacity at some point. But also like you can want that and also like not diminish what they're doing with the like Riri Williams character right now. Like they can both exist concurrently.
Also, I'd wager a lot of the people who are making that excuse never cared about Harley in the first place.
No.
And I don't mean to get political, But I think we can make some connections here when we have a black character who is people are saying does not belong here, even though she's been around for a very long time. And nobody has talked about Harley since Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Nobody has cared about Harley since Iron Man 3. I like Harley for example. I think he's a cool character. And it would have been nice to see him again.
Yeah.
Besides Endgame or whatever. But this is not a genuine argument.
No, 100%. Like, especially like if you're going to blame any character for this, it probably should be Peter, right? Like, I feel like Peter kind of took that spot that you would hypothetically give to this character if you wanted that story. I'm not saying I'd change that, obviously not, but like, I feel like if you're going to give it to anybody, it's to Peter, but they're not going to do that because it's Spider-Man. It's Peter Parker.
Yeah.
People love Peter Parker. They love Spider-Man.
It's just like, he was just there for that one role in that one movie. And it was a good role. And, he was a really good part of that movie.
Yeah.
But he's never meant for anything beyond that.
Right.
And believe it or not, in the MCU, that can happen. Where a character appears once.
Yep.
And never appears again.
It's a very small amount of characters that have done that, but you are right. Yeah, it can happen, and like, yeah, it would have been cool to see him again. It would have been cool if they did something with him, and technically, they still technically could if they really, really wanted to. I mean, hell, you can have him appear in like Doomsday, and him like look at the screen and be like, "Is that freaking Tony? What the heck's going on here?" Or something. If you really, really
if they want to beef up the Young Avengers, they can pull an Iron Lad.
Sure, 100%. Yeah, like I really enjoy his character here. It's, I think he parallels Tony very much so. He sees himself in this little kid, someone, who has those daddy issues, who likes to build, who, is very inventive and very curious. Like he definitely sees himself in him. And, I love that scene when they're talking about the like bomber that happened in their city. And he's like, there's like the like six people had died, but there's one, there's like one shadow thing that's not there, right? And I, like looking at this, I was like, oh, is that a parallel for like the Avengers? Like he's afraid he's going to be the one to kill all of his team or something. I was like, oh, something that you can kind of think about.
Which is actually followed up in Age of Ultron.
Right. And this whole arc, like this movie is him trying to like build a suit of armor around him to protect him. And it seems like that worry for him doesn't quite go away in this movie. Like the whole movie ends with him being like, I'm good now. I'm okay. But it doesn't really for him. And like at first I want to be like, well, that's something, that's a criticism. But honestly, I think that's so real too. Just like
it's a human thing.
It's very human. Yeah.
To think that you're done, you're done growing.
Yeah.
It's also a very Tony Stark thing. But you're never done growing.
No.
It's a constant process. And I think it's good that he isn't just okay after Iron Man 3.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No. I again, like we said, like I think his journey there it's great. It's fantastic. I'm kind of just going through the cast list here. I will say this isn't my favorite Rhodey outing. I'd say. Not because he's bad, just because I kind of feel like he's just kind of there most of the time. It's just kind of like, hey guys, remember me? I'm in this movie, kind of thing. Again, he's not bad, but
he fills the trademark Shane Black archetype of the buddy cop.
Sure. This is the first official like War Machine. Sorry, Iron Patriot switch over, right? Which
Iron Patriot. It sucks.
that's fun. I like that a lot because it's very PR. It's very much like he's working for
Mhm.
the government, having a machine or having someone in your U.S. military kind of place that's called a war machine isn't great for PR. So I think it's very interesting to
Yeah.
see how the government is using the Tony armors and stuff like that, and also just like I will forever be sad that we're not going to get that Armored Wars project with Rhodey because I feel like
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
a continuous story we could have told there of like what is the U.S. government doing with Tony's resources now that he's passed. Like that is such
Yeah.
an interesting
I
idea that will
I do think
probably
that
never
idea
see.
is a really good follow-up on Iron Man 2.
Mm, sure.
Because that was that's obviously a big part of that story
Right.
is them trying the US government trying to make weapons out of Stark technology again.
Right. For sure. For sure. All right. Let's talk about Trevor. Let's talk about Trevor. Now the Mandarin isn't a character I am like vastly knowledgeable on. Like I know
Yeah.
he exists, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert on this character. But what I do want to talk about, and this is my first time watching Iron Man 3 since Shang-Chi has come out. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting watching this now, knowing that we get the real Mandarin in Shang-Chi, and we also get Trevor, in there. And,
Mhm.
and we're about to get our third Trevor appearance in the upcoming Wonder Man series that's coming out. And it's so
Wait. Don't forget the short
sure. No, yeah,
when he was in
you're right. You're
prison.
right. It's interesting to see how that character's evolved through
Yeah.
the MCU. Like the Trevor has appeared more than the Mandarin himself has in the MCU, which is really funny to think about.
Yeah.
Which it makes sense, right? But I'm like, what's your thoughts on him as a character? Like, does that
Um,
twist work for you years later after having seen
right.
where it's gone?
As someone who grew up on like Iron Man comics, and I watched Armored Adventures a lot when I was a
Mm,
kid. Which the Mandarin is a very big part of that show.
sure.
It's not, it's not really an adaptation of the character. So like I'm not going to pretend that it is.
Right.
But it's a big but. I think for the function that it serves within the story, I think it's a really interesting, commentary they're trying to do
Mm,
about the way war and terrorism works in our country.
mm,
Now I'm never going to say, war commentary in a Marvel movie is extremely progressive because, these movies, the scripts are, given to, the US military and they look it over. And then they, give resources to the movies or whatever, all of that. But I do think it has some interesting things to say about how terrorism and war is extremely profitable
yeah.
within under these certain systems we live in. And to see like Killian, wanting to operate it as like both sides of the business,
Mm,
um, doesn't feel that far away from
sure.
where we are right now.
It's a lot of the like propaganda that war causes, right? It's like
Yeah.
benefiting from just the marketing ploys of war and like what fear can do and what fear can buy kind of thing too. It's very interesting, and I do think it kind of works as a good foil to Tony and his arc and his
Mhm.
development because he wasn't that far from that, right? Like he was profiting off of war propaganda, right?
Mhm.
Like that's his whole
Yeah.
thing, the first movie. So it is cool to see.
And also like Killian is the closest to Tony that any of the villains in the movies have been.
Sure.
Because, you know, in the first movie, you know, you have the Ironmonger, who is, you know, I mean, I'd say he's decently far away from Tony, especially after, you know, everything that happened to him. You know, they're like pretty diametrically opposed.
Right.
And then you have you know, Justin Hammer, who is a little bit closer, but he's not, you know, he's not as scientifically minded as Tony is.
Right.
Like, he couldn't make anything. Like, he couldn't make anything. But then you have Killian, who kind of comes from the same crop as Tony. But he doesn't have any, at least in the beginning, he didn't have the charisma. You know, he didn't have the ego. And then, you know, that rejection turns him into kind of
Right.
dark Tony Stark.
Sure. No, for sure. Like, I think that those first couple minutes of the movie where they're at like the convention, and you know, he's like, oh yeah, I have this really, you know, this really cool idea, and you know, and I love the line he has like later on in the movie where it's like, well, I thought about just taking the like shortcut down, right down, you know, right down the stair, you know, right down the building. It's like, whoa, okay, like Tony's consequences have always had, or like, sorry, Tony's actions have always had consequences, and it's like that's what he almost did to someone. Like him not going up and just hearing this guy out. Not saying that he needed to, right? Like he didn't own this guy anything, right? But also, it's like you told him you would. So
yeah,
it's interesting to see, and you know, is a good display of his growth and his journey that we continuously see.
Yeah, it speaks to how differently Tony would have acted at this point compared to back then.
Sure.
Especially when you like factor in the, you know, Harley, Peter, you know, young scientists who he kind of takes under his wing at different points. You know, it does just show how much he's changed, and that he is a better man, but also like he has to reckon with like the sins of the past kind of thing.
Sure. No, 100%. Yeah, like it's a journey that, you know, again, as we go through these movies and we see how he continuously grows, and like, you know, we'll see what happens on like Age of Ultron later on, and like, oh, it's like he continuously gets to see the consequences of his actions, and as much as he tries, it keeps on happening. Like the things that he sets in motions do. I mean, you know, you can go down to Ultron, like this movie kind of leading to like what he'll have to do in Age of Ultron, and that leads to the Civil. Like it is this continuous domino effect that's been really cool to see in a different lens on this rewatch. You know, I've said it in like all three of these movies now, but like Robert Downey is just great as Iron Man. He's great as Tony. Like I think he now kind of
just born for it.
Yeah, and like I feel like I kind of got this little, like I had a little bit of like a sword in my mouth with Robert Downey just because of the whole Doom situation. I feel like I almost got a little, you know, overshadowed by like the like frustration with that whole thing. But like it's nice rewatching these and being like, oh yes, it wasn't just this thing that it is now. It isn't just this mascot for Marvel. He is a genuinely fantastic actor, and he kills these roles. And I think even, you know, in spots of these movies I don't love as much as others, his performance shines through, and it's like I enjoy watching him anytime he's on screen, anytime he has a presence.
Like I think and you can't say this about a lot of actors, but you can tell a piece of his soul went into playing Tony Stark.
Sure.
Especially since, you know, the like public persona of Robert Downey Jr. before Iron Man,
right?
You know, all of the drinking, you know, the drugs, you know, there was the whole thing of, you know, him showing up at someone's house drunk, whatever.
Right.
You know, all of the court hearings. You know, him playing this character was kind of him reckoning with his own stuff,
Sure.
not just the fictional, you know, sins of Tony Stark.
100%. No, it's. I always can respect a good like comeback story in media, like, especially nowadays. Like, I'm not trying to combat cancel culture in any way. I think in many times it's needed, but it is cool when you see like a Downey situation or even like a James Gunn situation where people could be like, "Hey, that freaking sucked. Let me prove I'm better," kind of thing. Like let me prove I can come back to that. And I feel like that's kind of what comic books and superheroes are all about. Is about redemption. It's about doing better or improving yourself, and I think I think that's really cool to see for sure. I will say, like, I think the third act for me doesn't work as well as the first two. I would say I do think that is the act of the movie, just for me personally, that does feel a little jumbled in some parts of it. And I feel like a lot of people probably just remember that third act and how much they hate the Mandarin when they're talking about this movie. And that's kind of a focus group. Like it is a lot really fast, and it kind of turns from one movie to another movie, and like it's definitely cool. Like having the like 14 different Iron Man suits kind of come out of nowhere. It's like, okay, that's sick as hell. But I do think maybe it could have been, I don't know, paced a little bit better. Or like I think that transition into that maybe could have been a little bit better for me personally. But I enjoyed it this time around much more than I had previously back in like 2019 when I last rewatched the movie. I would say. How does that act work for you?
I just love that third act.
Okay, all right, hell yeah. I mean, that's, you know, that's amazing.
The Barrel of Monkeys. You know, you have him being locked up with the zip ties.
Sure.
You have all the stuff with Killian, you know, capturing Rhodey and everything. And also just like Rhodey and Tony having to like work together to figure out how to do this without any suit of armor.
Yeah.
Also, you know, them walking in on Trevor and being like, you know, this guy's kind of a tool. And like when Rhodey gets him in the neck with his gun, that always like strikes me as really funny. But just like, they give me things. They gave me a yacht. I don't know. Ben Kingsley's performance is just really funny.
He's really fun as a character, yeah. And I'm so curious what he's doing in like Wonder Man. Like what is he going to get? Like how much of that is he actually in? How are they going to transition his character? Is that his last performance, or will he continue to kind of cameo in various different like?
He was just so charismatic in that part that I couldn't help but love him.
Sure. That's fair.
Even if it's not like the perfect adaptation of the character.
Sure. And like it is interesting like
because since we got it with Shang-Chi, I don't feel like there's any reason to fault Iron Man 3. Besides wanting this version of Shang-Chi, this version of the Mandarin to meet Iron Man. Like that would be the one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like this is one of those things that like, and again, I'm excited to go through these next couple phases because like one thing that you can say that phase 4 and 5 I think does really well, or at least attempted to do, was bring back these various elements from phases 1, 2, 3 and bring them to the forefront. Some things that maybe people didn't like so much, or characters that were forgotten or didn't have a focus on, and be like, hey, y'all wanted to see that back in like 2010? All right, here it is. You know, they kind of fixed up Elektra, which, you know, wasn't the MCU, but like they did that, and they brought back Darren from the Ant-Man movies, you can say what you want about that, right? The Yellow Jacket, right? And like
Yeah.
all the Mandarin and like all these things that like people kind of forgot about. We're like, oh, okay, we're bringing that back in. All right, let's see how that goes. Let's see what and yeah, I'm curious to see what else Phase 4 did to like course correct some of these early ones a little bit. That it's very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on yet from this movie that you want to bring up, that you want to talk about, that you want to shine a light on?
I guess I just say, it's a kind of movie that I can remember where I was when I watched it. There are very specific movies that have that kind of credit with me. But like I remember walking back from that movie.
Sure. And like I wish that I had some of those experiences with these early MCU movies, which again I'm redoing it through the show, so hopefully I'll have it now. But like my first MCU movie in theaters was, I think it was Infinity War. Like I did not have, like, we didn't go to movies very much as a kid, so it's like
Right.
I caught up later as it was like well into motion. So like a lot of these movies, I'm not going to have the emotional connection that I wish I would have had with it when I'm just like binging these movies for the first time, in middle school and stuff like that. So like that's totally valid. Like there's definitely, I bet, a nostalgia to be had with a movie like this. And it's crazy to think it was, what's movie come out, 2013?
Yeah, it's like 12 years now.
It's been 12 years since an Iron Man movie has been in the cinemas, which, you can argue Civil War is like an Iron Man movie, or like an Endgame and stuff is also like that. But it is kind of crazy to think back on it and be like, yeah, this was the last one. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And like, Captain America just had a new movie despite it not being, Steve Rogers and stuff like that. I do wonder if Armored Wars would eventually have been renamed like Iron Man 4 or something like that to kind of propertize on that franchise. Do you think we'll ever get another Iron Man movie, or do you think this is
Riri a movie? Give Riri a movie. I dare you.
I'd love that. I love that. And like I think that's what Iron Wars would have been, to be honest. Like I think it would have been Rhodey and Riri. I think she would have been like the co-lead of that project. And
that would have been awesome.
Make it happen, Marvel. Come on.
Yeah.
Make it so happen. But do you think we'll ever get like a proper, not saying with Downey, obviously, although they could, I hope not. But do you think there'll ever be someone else take on that role, or a Rhodey movie or something?
I definitely love a Riri movie. But it kind of feels like they're done with Rhodey. It feels like they've been done with him for a while, which is kind of sad.
Right.
So I'm not sure if they'd ever do anything with Iron Man again, besides either bringing Robert Downey Jr. back again, which I don't want.
Agreed.
Or they do the whole multiverse thing and
Secret Wars, reboot the actor,
other guy.
And
it's just like, I like permanence.
Agreed.
I want permanence. So like an Ironheart movie would be awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I agreed. I'm still not completely convinced how I want them to do Secret Wars. Like, in one regard, I don't hate the idea of letting new characters play these roles if it is in a way like Downey coming back and doing like an Iron Man 4 sounds terrible to me. I hate that idea. But like I don't know, John Goodman coming in and playing, I don't know, like some random new actor to come in and play these characters, right? Like I'm not against that, right? Like we're about to do that with like Wolverine, right? So it's like inherently not against it.
I think that if they want certain characters ever again, they will eventually have to reboot the whole thing.
Eventually, yeah.
Because it is kind of lame that we did Secret Invasion without Iron Man. Or like you know, the Avengers as a whole.
The Secret Invasion is still one of the worst things that they ever
Because
did.
like they wasted, I'd say, one of the coolest Marvel event comics on a show that barely anybody watched.
Yeah.
Which
They
is
that is one they
that
gotta
could have
reboot that
been
story. They gotta.
that could have been a whole arc. That could have been a whole
Should have been
saga.
Phase 4.
Especially, you know, with like the themes of like, you know, mental health. I think that would have been an interesting way to take it.
And I do really like some people hate it, but like in theory, I like that ending with Rhodey and like in that project. Like I think inherently that could have been a really cool like stepping stone for Iron Wars, right? Because
Right.
it's like just the like grief of that of like I missed all this time with my best friend, like this all this time had went away and gone, and you know like the just like the grieving process of that of like
Yeah.
was he even a real friend if he didn't know I wasn't there? Like there's so much there, and then like going into Secret Wars Secret Wars Doomsday again, not a huge fan of the whole Downey Doom thing so far, but one of the plus sides of that of like well now someone with the same face of you know the friend I just lost or has been gone for years is back. How do I process that grief? How do I process those emotions? If Rhodey isn't in Doom, I'm gonna be very pissed, right? Especially if Spider-Man's not in that movie now either. So it's like, what's the point of it being Downey if none of the characters that associated with Downey's Tony are there to?
I expect a big part of it will be Peter.
I would think, but like the rumors are he's not in that movie, or like that's what we've been led to think. So, but maybe now that it's pushed back, they can get Tom Holland in for filming. Like they can film with stuff with him. Maybe that's the point.
Decided thing for me in that, like, you know, Downey shouldn't be Doom.
Agreed.
But if you're gonna have them there, you need a purpose for him to have this face.
Agreed. Agreed. Like lean into it. Like if you're gonna do this shitty thing, fine. But like, what are you going to do with that decision? I guess is where I'm currently at. But yeah, with that being said, I think that leads us to the end of our episode here. Thank you so much for doing the show. This is an absolute blast, like always. I know we already did it kind of at the top, but where can people find you? What you're working on? Anything you want to shout out, promo, all that jazz?
Well, I got a lot brewing. We're already working on issue 2 of Prodigy. Very excited about that. There's a lot going on with that. Also, I'm working on a lot of videos. I'm working on Metroid Dread video. I'm working on 2 more Star Wars videos. I'm doing one about Star Wars is woke.
Oh,
that's the tease. That's the tease.
That's a third tease.
And then I'm gonna be doing a video about Leigh Brackett, who wrote Empire Strikes Back.
Very exciting.
I'm doing and then I'm doing an Ironheart video. I'm doing an It's Wonderful Life video in July.
Oh wow. There's a lot to unpack there.
And then I'm working on a Batman Mask of the Phantasm video. I have a Spawn the Animated Series video essay slated for probably October. I got a lot
of fires in those skillets. No, that's
yes.
I feel that a couple months ago. I was it in April. I scheduled out every pipeline episode I was doing up until July. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do all these things. I do this here and this here and this here and this here and all these various things. But no, go check out his channel. Obviously, go check out his comics. Cooking up a lot of great stuff. Obviously, we've done 2 previous episodes with you in the past. We've talked about our favorite MCU moments, along with the Nolan trilogy in those early pipeline episodes. So
yeah, and I've appreciated it that you even asked me back.
No, you are on a fantastic guest. Absolutely, I always have a great time talking with you for sure. Streams for the rest of the week. after credits on Mondays, we will be wrapping up a couple things. We have the Doctor Who penultimate this week. We have the finale of The Last of Us and the finale of Andor, all that jazz. And then pipeline next Thursday to go into our anti-reboots conversation from earlier. We're talking about the live-action Lilo and Stitch movie. Disney's newest... our newest... Let's see how that goes. I hope it's good, but I'm not convinced. We will see how that goes.
Well, they took out the villain.
I heard that, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'll probably go tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, without further ado, everybody, I will see you folks on the flip side.